I was taping the last cardboard box when I heard the knock. 3 sharp raps that made my hands freeze over the packing tape. The sound echoed through the nearly empty living room where I had raised my son for 42 years. "Mrs. Mills! Mrs. Mills! Please open the door!" The voice was frantic, female, familiar in a way that made my stomach tighten. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. We'd love to know how far our stories are going. I set down the tape dispenser and walked to the front door. Through the peephole, I saw Rita Valdez, the woman who had cared for my best friend Margaret during her final months. Her face was flushed, and her eyes were wide with something that looked like panic. I opened the door. "Rita, what's wrong?" She pushed past me without invitation and turned to face me with both hands gripping my forearms. "Don't go. Please, Mrs. Mills. Don't move into that guest house." I blinked at her. "I don't understand. Trevor is just trying to help me. The house is too big now, and that's what he told Margaret, too." Rita's voice dropped to a whisper. Her fingers dug into my arms. "He told her the same exact thing." The room tilted slightly. I pulled away from her grip and closed the door. "What are you talking about?" Rita reached into her purse and pulled out a manila folder. Her hands shook as she opened it. "I kept copies. I knew something was wrong, but Margaret wouldn't listen. She trusted him because you trusted him." I looked down at the papers she thrust toward me. Bank statements. Margaret's bank statements. I saw her account number, her name, and a series of withdrawals. Large withdrawals. $8,000, $12,000, $15,000. All marked with the same notation: transfer to T. Mills. "Trevor is my financial advisor," I heard myself say. The words sounded hollow. Margaret asked him to help her after Henry died, that's all. "Look at the dates." Rita's finger stabbed at the paper. June through November last year, 6 months. He emptied $127,000 from her account in 6 months. I sat down on the nearest box. It was labeled "Kitchen" in Trevor's handwriting. He had helped me pack last weekend. We had laughed together while wrapping my mother's china. He brought Amber and they ordered pizza, and Trevor said, "Mom, you're going to love having us so close. We'll take care of everything." Margaret gave him power of attorney, Rita continued. She was crying now. "Just like he's asking you to do. Just temporary," he said. "Just to make things easier. Just so he could handle the bills while she adjusted to the guest house." The guest house. My voice sounded strange. She lived in their guest house? For 4 months. Rita wiped her face with the back of her hand. "They said she needed help. They said the big house was too much. They said all the same things they're saying to you." I thought about the papers I had signed 3 days ago. Temporary power of attorney. Just for the transition period, Trevor had explained. Just until I got settled. Just to make sure all my bills transferred to the new address smoothly. I had signed them in Amber's office with her notary stamp, and her bright smile, and her comment about how lucky I was to have such a caring son. I had paid for Trevor's college. $43,000 for his bachelor's degree at Ohio State. I had co-signed his first car loan when his credit was bad. $12,000 that I ended up paying off when he lost his sales job. I had given him the down payment for his house. $34,000 that he promised to pay back but never did. Over 8 years, I had handed over $89,000 and told myself it was what mothers do. "Where is Margaret now?" I asked. Rita's face crumpled. "She died in February, in the guest house, alone." The room went very quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. I could hear a car passing on the street outside. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. "Amber found her," Rita said softly. "Said it was very peaceful. Said Margaret just went to sleep and didn't wake up. But Mrs. Mills, I was there the day before. Margaret told me she wanted to see her lawyer. She said she had made a terrible mistake. She said she needed to fix something before it was too late." I stood up slowly. My legs felt unsteady. "Did she see the lawyer?" "She died that night." Rita met my eyes. The lawyer's appointment was scheduled for the next morning. I walked to the window and looked out at my front yard. The maple tree I had planted when Trevor was born. The flower beds I had weeded every spring for 4 decades. The driveway where Trevor had learned to ride his bike, where he had washed his first car, where he had stood last month and said, "Mom, you've done enough. Let us take care of you now." "I need to see everything," I said. "All of Margaret's papers, everything you have." Rita nodded and pulled out more documents from her folder. I made copies of everything before Amber cleared out Margaret's room. I knew something wasn't right. I took the papers and spread them across my dining room table. The table where Trevor had done his homework, where we had eaten Sunday dinners, where he had brought Amber to meet me for the first time and said, "Mom, she's the one." The documents told a story. Margaret's savings account, carefully built over 40 years of teaching, systematically drained. Her investment accounts liquidated. Her pension redirected, all of it flowing into accounts controlled by my son. There were other papers, too. Medical bills marked paid that Margaret had never seen. Insurance claims for treatments she had never received. Prescriptions filled at pharmacies she had never visited. My hands were shaking. I set down the papers and looked at Rita. "Why didn't you go to the police?" I tried. Her voice broke. "They said Margaret had given Trevor power of attorney. They said it was a family matter. They said old people sometimes make poor financial decisions, and that's what the power of attorney was for, to protect them from themselves." I heard another car pull into my driveway. Through the window, I saw Trevor's silver Lexus. The Lexus he had bought 6 months ago. The one he said was a company car. "He's here," I whispered. Rita grabbed my arm again. "Don't let him know I told you. Please, Mrs. Mills. I'm scared of what he'll do." I nodded and walked her quickly to the back door. She slipped out through the kitchen just as I heard Trevor's key in the front lock. His key. The key I had given him for emergencies. "Mom?" His voice was cheerful, relaxed, ready for the big move. I turned around and saw him standing in my living room. My son, 6 feet tall with my father's eyes and his father's smile, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a briefcase and looking at me with what I had always thought was love. "Almost ready," I said. My voice sounded normal, calm, just finishing up. He walked over and put his arm around my shoulders. "Amber is so excited. She's been fixing up the guest house all week. New curtains, new bedding. You're going to love it." I looked down at his hand on my shoulder, the hand I had held when he learned to walk, the hand I had bandaged when he fell off his bike, the hand that had signed papers stealing from my dying friend. "That's wonderful," I said, and I smiled. Trevor left an hour later with a promise to return tomorrow with the moving truck. I watched his Lexus disappear down the street, and then I sat at my dining room table with Margaret's papers spread in front of me like evidence at a crime scene. I had known Margaret for 40 years. We met at a PTA meeting when our sons were in first grade together. We had coffee every Thursday morning. We celebrated birthdays and holidays. We buried our husbands within 2 years of each other. When Henry died and left her alone in that big house on Maple Street, I had suggested she talk to Trevor about her finances. "He's so good with money," I had told her. "He'll make sure you're taken care of." I pressed my palms against my eyes. The weight of that recommendation sat in my chest like a stone. My phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. "Mom, don't forget to sign the utility transfer forms I left on the counter. Need them by tomorrow for the move." I walked to the kitchen and found the forms. 3 pages of dense legal text. I started reading carefully this time. Really reading. There were clauses about automatic payment authorizations, provisions for account access, language about consolidated billing management. At the bottom of page 3, in small print, I found it. Signing party agrees to grant designated representative full access to all associated financial accounts for the purpose of streamlined estate management and bill consolidation. Estate management, as if I were already dead. I set the papers down and called Rita. She answered on the first ring. "Mrs. Mills?" "I need to know everything," I said. "Start from the beginning." Rita's story came out in a rush. Margaret had moved into the guest house in August. At first it seemed fine. Trevor visited regularly. Amber brought meals. They were attentive and caring. But within weeks, Margaret started complaining that her debit card wasn't working. Trevor explained there had been fraud on her account, and he had secured it while the bank investigated. He would handle her expenses in the meantime. She never got that card back, Rita said. Every time she asked, there was another delay, another problem, another reason why it wasn't ready yet. Margaret's mail stopped coming to the guest house. Trevor said he had set up a forwarding service to protect her from identity theft. He would bring her anything important. But the important things never came. No bank statements, no investment reports, no tax documents. I saw her writing checks, Rita said, for groceries, for her medications. Trevor said the checking account was fine, but I looked at the register. She was writing checks to Trevor, big checks, for household expenses and medical copays and property tax assistance. How much? At least $40,000 in checks, and that was just what I saw. I thought about my own checkbook. The checks I had written to Trevor over the years, the ones marked loan that never got repaid, the ones marked gift that I told myself were investments in my son's future. I had stopped keeping track after a while because keeping track made me feel like a bad mother. Like I was counting the cost of love. Margaret tried to call her lawyer in January. Rita continued. She told me she wanted to revoke the power of attorney. She said something wasn't right, but her phone wasn't working. Trevor said there was a problem with the service provider. He would fix it. Let me guess, he never fixed it. No, fixed. And when she asked to use his phone, he said he'd make the call for her. He'd schedule the appointment. He'd take care of everything. But the appointment never happened. I looked at the calendar on my kitchen wall. Today was April 3rd. Margaret had died February 14th, Valentine's Day. I had sent flowers to the funeral. I had held Amber's hand while she cried. I had told Trevor how sorry I was that he had lost someone so dear to him. Mrs. Mills, there's something else. Rita's voice dropped. I found Margaret's will, the real one, from before she moved into the guest house. And she left everything to her daughter in California. $340,000 between her savings, investments, and the house. But after she died, Trevor showed up with a new will, dated 3 weeks before she passed. In this one, she left him $180,000 for faithful care and financial management. The daughter got the house and whatever was left, which wasn't much after Trevor had drained the accounts. The daughter didn't contest it. She tried. But Trevor had medical records showing Margaret was confused toward the end, forgetting things, making poor decisions. The lawyer said it would be expensive to fight and she might lose. She took the house and walked away. I stood up and walked to my bedroom. I opened my closet and pulled down a box from the top shelf. Inside were all my financial documents. Bank statements I hadn't looked at in months. Investment reports Trevor had explained to me in ways that made my eyes glaze over. Insurance policies he had helped me update and optimize. I spread them on my bed and started reading. My savings account showed a balance of $87,000. That seemed right. But when I looked at the statement from 6 months ago, it had shown $121,000. There were transfers, $2,000 here, $5,000 there, all marked account maintenance fee or investment reallocation or estate planning consultation, $34,000 in 6 months, following the same pattern as Margaret. My hands started shaking. I picked up my phone and called my bank. The automated system told me my account balance, $87,000. I pressed the option to speak to a representative. First National Bank, this is Derek speaking. How can I help you? This is Dianna Mills. I need to understand some transfers on my account. Of course, Mrs. Mills. Can you verify your account number and security question? I gave him the information. There was a pause and the sound of typing. I see several transfers over the past 6 months. They were all authorized by Trevor Mills using the power of attorney on file. What power of attorney? More typing. It was filed in October. Gives him full access to manage your accounts. Would you like me to email you a copy? Yes, please. I hung up and sat on my bed staring at the wall. October. I tried to remember October. What had Trevor said? Something about estate planning. Something about protecting my assets. Something about how this was standard procedure for anyone over 65. I had signed papers in his office. He had explained them so quickly, had reassured me so completely. I had trusted him, just like Margaret had trusted him. My phone pinged with an email. I opened the attachment. There was my signature on a power of attorney document, a document I barely remembered signing, a document that gave Trevor Mills complete control over every dollar I had. I called Rita back. I need copies of everything you have, and I need the name of Margaret's daughter, Susan Porter. She lives in San Diego. Do you want her number? Yes. And Rita? Does anyone else know you kept these copies? No. I took them the day after Margaret died. Amber asked me to box up Margaret's papers. I made copies before I gave them the originals. Good. Don't tell anyone. Not yet. I spent the rest of the evening making my own copies. Every bank statement, every investment report, every document in my files. I put the originals back where they belonged and hid the copies in a box labeled Christmas decorations in my basement. Trevor had never gone down there. He said the stairs were too steep and the lighting was bad. At 9 o'clock, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Amber. She was holding a casserole dish and smiling. Dianna, I thought you might not feel like cooking tonight. I made your favorite, chicken and rice. I opened the door. That's so thoughtful. She came in and set the dish on my counter. She looked around at the boxes and smiled. It's really happening. You're going to be so happy with us. I watched her move through my kitchen, opening my cabinets to find plates, using my silverware drawer like it was already hers, making herself at home in a house that was still mine. Trevor mentioned you haven't signed the utility transfer forms yet, she said casually. Too casually. I'm reading them carefully. There's a lot of fine print. Something flickered across her face, just for a second. Irritation, maybe. Or concern. But then the smile was back. Of course. Take your time. Though we do need them by tomorrow to keep your services from being interrupted. I'll have them ready. She left 20 minutes later with another smile and a reminder about the moving truck coming at 8 in the morning. I watched her drive away in her Mercedes. The Mercedes she had bought last year. Around the same time, Margaret's account started being drained. I dumped the casserole in the garbage. I didn't trust anything they gave me anymore. Then I sat down at my computer and started searching. I found Susan Porter's Facebook page. I sent her a message. Susan, this is Dianna Mills. I was your mother's friend. I need to talk to you about Trevor. It's urgent. She responded within an hour. He stole from her. I know he did. But I couldn't prove it. I can prove it. I typed back. And I think he's planning to do the same thing to me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad and wrote down everything I knew. Every transfer, every date, every conversation that suddenly meant something different. At 3 in the morning, Susan Porter called me. Mrs. Mills, I'm sorry it's so late. I couldn't wait. Call me Dianna, and I'm awake. My mother talked about you all the time. She trusted Trevor because you trusted him. I need you to understand that I don't blame you. The guilt I had been pushing down rose up in my throat. I should have paid more attention. I should have checked on her more. He's good at this, Susan said. Her voice was hard. He isolated her. Every time I called, he said she was resting. When I tried to visit, he said she wasn't feeling well. By the time I flew out for Christmas, she was so confused she didn't recognize me. Confused how? She kept saying she needed to talk to her lawyer. She kept asking about her bank statements. But then she'd forget what she was saying mid-sentence. Trevor said it was dementia. He had a doctor's note and everything. I thought about the medical records Rita had mentioned. Did you ever meet this doctor? No. Trevor said Mom had switched to a specialist who made house calls. More convenient for her age and condition. I asked for the name, but Trevor said Mom wanted her privacy respected. That I was stressing her out by asking too many questions. I wrote down, doctor, house calls, check credentials. Susan, I found something today. A power of attorney I don't remember signing. It was filed in October. Did your mother have something similar? Yes, August. Right before she moved into the guest house. Trevor said it was standard, just for bill paying and medical decisions. Mom signed it because she trusted him. The same script, the same timeline. I wondered how many other women there were, how many other elderly widows who had trusted my son. There's something else, Susan said. After Mom died, I went through the guest house. Most of her things were gone. Trevor said she had donated them, but I found her jewelry box hidden behind a loose board in the closet. Empty. Mom had a diamond necklace my father gave her, worth about $15,000. She never took it off. Did you ask Trevor about it? He said she must have sold it. That sometimes elderly people do irrational things. He showed me more medical records documenting her cognitive decline. Susan's voice broke. He had an answer for everything, and I was so tired of fighting. I just wanted to bury my mother and go home. We talked for another hour. Susan sent me copies of everything she had. The will that appeared 3 weeks before Margaret's death. The medical records from a doctor whose license I would discover was suspended in 2019. The bank statements showing the systematic draining of accounts. When we finally hung up, the sky was getting light. The moving truck would be here in 3 hours. I made coffee and opened my laptop. I searched for the doctor who had supposedly treated Margaret, Dr. Raymond Fisher. His license had been revoked for falsifying patient records. He had disappeared and no one knew where he was, but his signature was all over Margaret's medical files. I searched for Trevor's business, Mills Financial Services. The website looked professional. Client testimonials, stock photos of happy elderly couples, a mission statement about protecting your legacy with care and integrity. I clicked on the About page. Trevor's biography talked about his dedication to helping seniors navigate complex financial decisions. There was a photo of him shaking hands with an elderly man. The caption read, Trevor Mills with client Harold Brennan, 2022. I typed Harold Brennan's name into Google. The obituary came up. Died January 2023 at age 74. Survived by his nephew in Oregon. Services held at Riverside Chapel. I called the chapel. A woman answered. I'm trying to reach the family of Harold Brennan. Do you have contact information for his nephew? I can't give that out, but I can pass along a message if you'd like. Please ask him to call Dianna Mills. It's about Harold's financial advisor. She took my number. I didn't expect to hear back, but 20 minutes later my phone rang. This is Paul Brennan. You asked about my Uncle Harold? Yes. I understand Trevor Mills was his financial advisor. There was a long pause. Did he steal from you too? My stomach dropped. How much? $200,000. Everything my uncle had. But I couldn't prove it. Trevor had power of attorney. He said Uncle Harold had given him permission to invest the money. When I asked for documentation, he showed me statements from some investment firm in the Cayman Islands. Untraceable. By the time Uncle Harold died, there was nothing left. Did your uncle have medical issues? Cognitive problems? Not until Trevor got involved. Then suddenly there were doctor's notes about dementia, confusion, paranoia. But Mrs. Mills, my uncle, was sharp as a tack. He did the New York Times crossword every morning. He read 3 newspapers a day. There was nothing wrong with his mind. I wrote down, pattern established, medical fraud, financial exploitation, multiple victims. Mr. Brennan, would you be willing to talk to a lawyer to make a statement? If it would stop him, yes. But I tried going to the police last year. They said it was a civil matter, that I should hire a lawyer and sue. But Trevor's smart. He covered his tracks. I spent $10,000 on legal fees and got nowhere. We talked for 30 minutes. Paul sent me documents, bank records, the fake medical reports, correspondence where Trevor had blocked every attempt Paul made to see his uncle in the final months. 3 victims I knew about. Margaret, Harold, me. How many others were there? At 7:30, Trevor's truck pulled into my driveway. I watched from the window as he got out with Amber and 2 men I didn't recognize. They were here to move me into the guest house, to put me in the same trap that had killed Margaret. I opened the door before they could knock. Good morning? Trevor smiled. Ready for moving day? Actually, I need to talk to you about something. His smile flickered. Sure, Mom. What's up? I've been going through my financial statements. I have some questions about the transfers. Amber stepped forward. Dianna, let's not worry about that today. We have so much to do. We can sit down next week and Trevor will explain everything. I'd like to understand it now. Trevor's expression shifted. The warmth drained from his eyes. Mom, we've been over this. Those are estate planning moves, protecting your assets. It's complicated, but it's all legitimate. Then you won't mind if I talk to an independent financial advisor, just to make sure I understand. The silence stretched. The two movers stood behind Trevor looking uncomfortable. Amber's hand tightened on Trevor's arm. Of course not, Trevor said finally. His voice was cold. But Mom, you signed papers giving me authority to manage your accounts. You agreed to this arrangement. I'd like to see those papers again. They're at my office. And then I'll come to your office. Today, before the move, Trevor looked at Amber. Something passed between them, a decision made without words. That won't be necessary, Amber said smoothly. Trevor can bring them to the guest house tonight, after we get you settled. You must be exhausted. All this stress isn't good for you. There it was. The same language, the same script. You're tired. You're confused. You're stressed. Let us handle everything. I'm not moving today, I said. Trevor's face went rigid. What? I need more time. I'm not ready. Mom, we've rented the truck. We've arranged everything. The utilities at this house are being shut off tomorrow. Then I'll call and have them turned back on. Amber's smile was gone now. Dianna, you're being unreasonable. We've done everything to help you, and now you're backing out at the last minute? I'm not backing out. I'm postponing. For how long? Trevor's voice was sharp. Until I get some things sorted out. He stepped closer. What things? I looked at my son, really looked at him. I searched for the boy I had raised, the child who had climbed into my bed during thunderstorms, the teenager who had cried on my shoulder when his first girlfriend broke his heart, the young man I had believed in even when no one else did. I couldn't find him. The person standing in my doorway was a stranger. Personal things, I said. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have phone calls to make. I closed the door. Through the window, I watched them argue in my driveway. Trevor was angry. Amber was on her phone. The movers were loading the truck back up. After 20 minutes, they left. I walked to my basement and pulled out the box of copies I had hidden. Then I sat down and called every number Susan and Paul had given me. I spent the day building a case. At 6 o'clock, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw a police officer. My heart stopped. I opened the door. Mrs. Mills, I'm Officer Patterson. Your son asked us to do a wellness check. He's concerned about your mental state. And there it was. The next step in the pattern. If the victim won't cooperate, make them look incompetent. I'm fine, officer. Your son says you've been acting erratically, forgetting things, making irrational decisions. He's worried you might hurt yourself. I looked past him and saw Trevor's Lexus parked down the street, watching, waiting to see if this would work. Officer Patterson, I need to report a crime. Officer Patterson looked at me with the careful expression cops use when they think someone might be unstable. What kind of crime, Mrs. Mills? Financial exploitation of the elderly, fraud, forgery, maybe murder. I kept my voice steady. I have documentation. He glanced back at Trevor's car. Your son is very concerned about you. He says you've been confused lately, having memory problems. Did he show you medical records? A doctor's note, perhaps? Patterson shifted his weight. He mentioned you've been refusing medical care. Officer, I'd like to show you something. May I? He followed me inside. I spread Margaret's papers across my dining room table. Bank statements showing $127,000 drained in 6 months. Medical records signed by a doctor whose license was revoked in 2019. The 2 wills, the real one and the fake one that appeared 3 weeks before she died. This is my friend Margaret. She lived in my son's guest house. These are her financial records. Notice the pattern of transfers. I laid out my own statements beside Margaret's. These are mine. Same pattern, same amounts, same timing. Patterson leaned over the table. His expression changed. And this is Harold Brennan. I added Paul's documents. He died last year. My son was his financial advisor too. $200,000 missing. Mrs. Mills, these are serious allegations. I know. That's why I'm making them to you and not just to a lawyer. He pulled out his phone. I need to call this in. Do you mind if I take photos of these documents? Please do. I have copies of everything. While he photographed the papers and made calls, I watched Trevor's Lexus through my window. He was still parked down the street, waiting. After 30 minutes, a detective's car pulled up. Trevor's car started and drove away quickly. Detective Sarah Chen introduced herself. She was in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense handshake. Officer Patterson filled me in. This is quite a collection you've put together. There are at least 3 victims I know about. I suspect there are more. Walk me through it. I spent 2 hours explaining everything. The power of attorney I barely remembered signing. The medical fraud. The pattern across multiple victims. Detective Chen took notes and asked questions that told me she was taking this seriously. Mrs. Mills, I'm going to be honest with you. These cases are hard to prosecute. He has power of attorney. He can claim everything was authorized. The medical records, even if fraudulent, support his claim that the victims were incompetent. I'm not incompetent, and I'm willing to prove it. How? Let me move into the guest house. Let me record everything. Get him on tape explaining how this works. Chen shook her head. Absolutely not. That's dangerous. If he's done what you think he has, you'd be putting yourself at risk. I'm at risk anyway. At least this way we get evidence. I can't authorize that. You don't have to authorize it. I'm a competent adult making my own choice. But if I do this, I need your help. I need recording equipment. I need backup nearby. And I need to know you'll act fast if something goes wrong. Chen studied me for a long moment. You understand he might be dangerous? If he killed Margaret, he killed her with paperwork and pills. Not violence. Trevor doesn't get his hands dirty. That's not his style. People change when they're cornered. Then don't let him corner me. Set this up right. She made more calls. An hour later, a man in plain clothes arrived with a briefcase. He introduced himself as Detective Mark Rodriguez from the Financial Crimes Unit. Mrs. Mills, I've been tracking your son for 6 months. We have tips from 2 other families, but no solid evidence. Everything he does is technically legal. Power of attorney covers a lot. So, you know about this? We suspected, but we can't get warrants without proof of a crime, and we can't prove a crime without access to his records. You could change that. He opened his briefcase. Inside was a small recording device the size of a button. This goes in your clothing. We'll put cameras in the guest house before you move in. Your son won't know they're there. What about Amber? What about her? She's involved. I'm sure of it. She was at every signing. She notarized documents. She found Margaret's body. Rodriguez nodded. We've looked at her too. She works at a title company. Has access to property records. We think she identifies the targets. Elderly widows with paid-off houses and savings. Exactly. Women who are lonely, isolated, whose kids live far away or don't visit often. I thought about Margaret, about Harold. Both had been alone. Both had trusted Trevor because someone they knew recommended him. Someone like me. How many others? I asked. Rodriguez hesitated. We've identified 8 possible victims over the past 5 years. Total estimated theft is around $2 million. But we can't prove any of it without someone on the inside. $2 million. My son had stolen over $1 million from vulnerable elderly people who trusted him, people like my friends. I'll do it, I said. Tell me what you need. We spent the next 3 hours planning. I would call Trevor tomorrow and apologize, say I had been overwhelmed and scared, that I wanted to move into the guest house after all. They would install cameras while Trevor and Amber were at work. The equipment would transmit to a van parked 2 blocks away. Rodriguez and Chen would monitor everything in real time. If at any point you feel unsafe, say the word, Margaret. That's your panic word. We'll be inside in under a minute. What am I trying to get him to say? Anything that proves intent. That he knew what he was doing was wrong. That he planned it. Any admission about the other victims, any mention of falsifying documents. And if I can't get him to say it, then we keep investigating. But Mrs. Mills, this is our best shot. Detective Chen walked me to my door when they left. You don't have to do this. We'll find another way. There is no other way. And if I don't stop him, someone else's mother will end up like Margaret. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about what I was about to do. Wear a wire, spy on my own son, help send him to prison. But then I thought about Margaret, about her empty jewelry box and her confused final months, about Susan flying across the country to bury a mother who didn't recognize her, about Harold doing crossword puzzles while Trevor drained his accounts. At 8 in the morning, I called Trevor. He answered on the first ring. Mom? I'm sorry about yesterday. I was overwhelmed. You were right. I'm not thinking clearly. The move is too much for me. Silence. Then, it's okay, Mom. I understand. This is a big change. Can we try again? The move? Of course. When? Today? I just want to get it over with. More silence. I could almost hear him thinking, calculating, deciding if this was a trap. I'll call the movers. We can be there by noon. Thank you, Trevor. I don't know what I'd do without you. The words tasted like poison. At 10 o'clock, Rodriguez and Chen arrived with a team. They worked fast. Cameras went into the smoke detectors, the clock radio, the lamp on the bedside table. The recording button went into the collar of my cardigan. They tested everything twice. Remember, Chen said, act natural. Don't push too hard. Let him think he's in control. He is in control. That's what makes this work. At 11:30, they left. At noon, Trevor's truck pulled up. I watched him and Amber get out with the same 2 movers from yesterday. This time, Trevor was smiling. I opened the door. Thank you for being patient with me. He hugged me. It's going to be great, Mom. You'll see. We're going to take such good care of you. Over his shoulder, I saw Amber watching me with cold calculation in her eyes. She knew something had changed. She just didn't know what. The move took 3 hours. My furniture went into storage. Only my personal items came to the guest house. It was a small space. 1 bedroom, a bathroom, a sitting area. There was a mini fridge and a microwave, but no stove. You won't need to cook, Amber explained. We'll bring you meals. It's easier this way. Easier for them to control what I ate. What medications might be hidden in the food. The phone here connects to the main house, Trevor said. If you need anything, just pick up and we'll hear you. No outside line, no privacy. Your mail will come to our address now. I'll bring it to you every day. No contact with the outside world. We've set up automatic payments for all your bills. You don't have to worry about anything. No way to track what was happening to my money. It was exactly what they had done to Margaret, step by step, cutting off every avenue of escape. This is perfect, I said. Thank you both so much. Amber smiled. We're family, Dianna. This is what family does. That night they brought me dinner, chicken soup and fresh bread. I waited until they left and then poured the soup down the bathroom sink. I ate the protein bars Rodriguez had hidden in my suitcase. At 9 o'clock my phone rang. The house line. I answered. Mom, just checking on you. Everything okay? Everything's wonderful. I'm about to go to bed. This has been such a long day. Sleep well. We'll see you in the morning. I lay in the dark in Margaret's old bed and wondered how long she had lasted before she realized what was happening, before she tried to call her lawyer and found her phone didn't work, before she wrote those checks that drained her accounts, before whatever happened that final night. Through the window, I could see lights in the main house, Trevor and Amber moving around, planning, celebrating maybe. Another fish in the net. I touched the button camera in my collar and whispered so softly only the police could hear, I'm in. The first week in the guest house moved slowly. Trevor and Amber were careful. They brought meals 3 times a day. They asked about my health. They smiled and made small talk. But nothing incriminating happened. Detective Chen called on the house line when they were at work. We're picking up everything. But they're not saying anything useful. Just normal family conversation. They're testing me, seeing if I'll try to leave or make calls. Can you push harder? Not yet. They'll know something's wrong. On day 8, things changed. Amber brought lunch and set a pill bottle on the table. The doctor prescribed these for you, for anxiety. 1 in the morning, 1 at night. I looked at the label. Dr. Raymond Fisher. The same doctor from Margaret's files, the one whose license was revoked. I don't have a doctor's appointment scheduled. It was a phone consultation. Trevor arranged it. The doctor said given your recent erratic behavior, you should start treatment right away. I opened the bottle. Small white pills, no markings. What is it? Just something to help you relax. You've been through so much stress. After she left, I put one of the pills in a plastic bag and hid it. Rodriguez would have it tested. That night when Amber checked to make sure I had taken my medication, I showed her an empty mouth and a grateful smile. I feel better already, I said. 2 days later, my bank statement arrived. Trevor brought it to me opened. I reviewed this, Mom. Everything looks good. The automatic payments are all processing correctly. I glanced at the statement. My savings account now showed $71,000, down from $87,000 2 weeks ago, $16,000 gone in 14 days. Can you explain these transfers? Estate planning moves. We discussed this. It's all part of protecting your assets. From what? His smile tightened. From confusion. From poor decisions. From people who might try to take advantage of you. The irony was so thick I almost laughed. Instead, I nodded meekly. I trust you. That night, Rodriguez called the house line. We tested the pill. It's lorazepam, a benzodiazepine. In the dose they're giving you, it would cause severe sedation, confusion, memory problems, all the symptoms they'd need to prove incompetence. How long before it would show up in blood work? A few days of consistent use. Mrs. Mills, you need to be very careful. If they realize you're not actually taking the pills, they won't. I'm giving them exactly what they expect. The next morning, I pretended to be groggy. I stumbled when Amber brought breakfast. I forgot what day it was. I asked the same question twice. Dianna, are you feeling all right? Amber's concern was practiced, professional. I'm just tired, so tired. That's the medication working. Your body is adjusting. It's normal. By day 12, I was supposed to be heavily medicated, confused, pliable. Instead, I was documenting everything with the hidden cameras. Every pill they brought. Every statement they manipulated. Every lie they told. But I still didn't have what Rodriguez needed. I didn't have Trevor admitting intent. Admitting he knew what he was doing was wrong. That afternoon, Trevor came to the guest house alone. He sat down across from me with a folder. Mom, we need to talk about your house. What about it? It's sitting empty. That's not safe. And the property taxes are due next month. $4,800. I can pay that from my savings. Your savings need to be preserved for your care. I have a better solution. We sell the house. Use the equity to secure your future. The market is good right now. We could get $340,000 easily. Margaret's house had sold for almost exactly that. The money had disappeared into Trevor's accounts within weeks. I'm not ready to sell. Mom, you're not going back there. You need care now. Full-time supervision. The house is just an expense you don't need. It's my home. His expression hardened. It's a building. Your home is here now, with us, where we can keep you safe. Safe. The word felt like a threat. I need to think about it. There's nothing to think about. I have power of attorney. I can make this decision for you. There it was. The mask slipping, the control showing through. You'd sell my house without my permission? It's not about permission, Mom. It's about doing what's best for you. You're not capable of making these decisions anymore. Says who? He pulled papers from the folder. Says Dr. Fisher. Says your recent medical evaluation. Says the fact that you can barely remember what day it is. I looked at the papers. A psychiatric evaluation dated 3 days ago, declaring me incompetent, recommending guardianship. I never saw a psychiatrist. It was a remote evaluation, based on Dr. Fisher's observations and my reports as your caregiver. Your reports. Someone has to look out for your interests. You're declining, Mom. Rapidly. If we don't act now, you could hurt yourself. Or worse. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage, but I forced myself to stay in character. Confused, weak, helpless. I don't understand any of this. I know. That's why you need to trust me. Sign this form and I'll handle everything. The house sale, the finances, your medical care, all of it. He pushed a paper across the table. A guardianship petition. If I signed it, he would have complete legal control. I would effectively disappear, just like Margaret. Trevor, I'm scared. His expression softened, just slightly. I know, Mom. Change is scary, but I promise you'll be taken care of. Haven't I always taken care of you? I thought about the $89,000 I had given him over the years, the college tuition, the car loan, the house down payment, the endless emergencies that I had funded without question. You have, I said quietly. You've always been such a good son. He smiled, relaxed, thought he had won. But I want to understand something first, about Margaret, about how this worked with her. The smile froze. What about Margaret? She lived here, in this room, and then she died. What happened to her money? Her house? Mom, you're confused. We don't need to talk about Margaret, but I want to understand, so I can trust you. Show me how you helped her, so I know you'll help me the same way. His expression shifted, calculation behind his eyes, trying to decide how much to say, how much I actually remembered versus how much was the medication talking. Margaret's situation was different. How? She was alone, no family nearby. She needed more intensive intervention. Management. Her finances were a mess. I organized everything for her. And her daughter? Susan? Something dark crossed his face. Susan was difficult. She didn't understand what her mother needed. She made everything complicated. How much did you help Margaret with? Total? He stood up. This isn't relevant to your situation. I'm just curious, as your mother, how much money did you help her manage? Mom, you need to rest. You're getting agitated. That's not good for you. Trevor, please. I'm trying to understand. Did you help Harold Brennan too? Paul mentioned you were his advisor. His whole body went rigid. You talked to Paul? Before I moved in, I called him about something. He mentioned his uncle. He said you were very helpful with his finances too. Trevor's hand closed around the edge of the table. His knuckles went white. When did you talk to Paul? I don't remember exactly. A few weeks ago, maybe? Everything is so fuzzy now. He stared at me, trying to read whether I was genuinely confused or playing him. The silence stretched. What exactly did Paul say? His voice was carefully controlled. Just that you helped his uncle, that Harold trusted you, that there were some problems with accounts, but that wasn't your fault. Problems? Money missing. But Paul said that was Harold's confusion, not anything you did wrong. Trevor sat back down. His posture changed. More aggressive, leaning forward. Mom, did you talk to anyone else? About your finances? About me? Like who? Police, lawyers, Susan. Why would I talk to them? Answer the question. Did you talk to anyone about me? His voice was hard now, threatening. This was the Trevor that Margaret had seen in her final days. The one who had controlled everything until she died trying to escape. Trevor, you're scaring me. I'm sorry. He pulled back, forced his expression to soften. I'm just worried about you. People might try to turn you against me. People who don't understand what we're doing here. What are we doing here? The question hung in the air. Trevor looked at me. Really looked at me. And I saw him make a decision. We're protecting you from yourself, just like I protected Margaret, just like I protected Harold. People get old, and they make mistakes. They forget things. They trust the wrong people. Someone has to step in and take control before they destroy everything they've built. Take control of their money. Take control of their lives, for their own good. And if they don't want you to? His expression went cold, flat. Then you make them want to, or you make them unable to say no. Either way, you're doing them a favor. They just don't understand it yet. I stared at my son, at this stranger wearing my child's face. Did Margaret understand it? In the end, Margaret was difficult. She fought. She made everything harder than it needed to be. And she learned that fighting doesn't work. Some lessons are harder than others. My hand moved to my collar, to the button that was recording everything. What kind of lessons? Trevor stood up. I think you've had enough excitement for today. You should rest. We'll talk about the house later, after you've had time to think about what's best. He walked to the door and stopped. Mom, don't talk to Paul again. Don't talk to Susan. Don't talk to anyone about our family business. Do you understand? Yes, good. Because if you do, I'll know. And then we'll have to have a different kind of conversation, one you won't like. He left. The door closed. I sat in Margaret's chair in Margaret's room and touched the button camera. Did you get that? I whispered. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Rodriguez. We got it. Stay put. We're coming. 20 minutes after Trevor left, I heard vehicles outside. Through the window, I saw Detective Chen and Rodriguez with 4 uniformed officers. They walked past the guest house toward the main house. I stayed where I was, watching, waiting. The knock on Trevor's door was loud enough to hear from where I sat. I saw Amber answer. Her face went from confusion to shock to panic in 3 seconds. Then Trevor appeared behind her. I couldn't hear what was being said, but I saw Trevor's expression change as Rodriguez showed him a warrant, saw him step back into the house, saw the officers follow him inside. My phone rang. Chen. Mrs. Mills, are you safe to come out? Yes. We need you here for the arrest. Your testimony is part of the warrant. I walked across the lawn I used to mow when Trevor was a boy, past the tree swing his father had built, up the steps of the house where I had held my grandson before. Trevor and Amber moved 3 hours away, and visits became rare. Inside, Trevor and Amber sat on their couch, handcuffed. Trevor's face was white. Amber was crying. Rodriguez stood over them with a tablet showing the video we had captured. Trevor Mills, Amber Mills, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit elder financial abuse, fraud, forgery, and filing false medical reports. Amber Mills, you're additionally charged with notary fraud and conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Margaret Porter. Murder? Amber's voice was shrill. She died of a heart attack. She died of an overdose of lorazepam administered over several weeks, the same drug you prescribed to Mrs. Mills here. Rodriguez gestured to me. We exhumed Mrs. Porter's body 3 days ago. The toxicology is conclusive. Trevor looked at me then, really looked at me. I saw understanding dawn in his eyes, saw him realize I hadn't been confused, hadn't been medicated, had been recording everything. Mom? His voice broke. You set me up? I stopped you. There's a difference. I'm your son. And Margaret was my friend. Harold was someone's uncle. All those people you stole from were someone's family. I was trying to help you. The guest house, the care, all of it was for you. It was for my money, just like it was for their money. Detective Chen stepped forward. Mr. Mills, you have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. But Trevor wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me. How long have you known? Since the day Rita came to warn me. Since the day I saw what you did to Margaret. Rita. He said the name like a curse. That woman saved my life. She tried to save Margaret too. But Margaret didn't have anyone to warn her in time. Margaret was old and confused and dying anyway. I just made sure her assets didn't go to waste. Rodriguez held up the tablet. You want to add to your confession? We're recording this too. Trevor's mouth snapped shut. Amber was sobbing now. Trevor, don't say anything else. We need a lawyer. You need a miracle, Chen said. We have 8 victims. We have documentation of $1, $2 million in theft. We have video of you admitting to controlling and manipulating your victims, and we have evidence of homicide. I never touched Margaret, Trevor shouted. No, you just sedated her until her heart gave out. That's felony murder in Ohio. killing someone during the commission of another felony. The officers lifted them from the couch. Trevor struggled. "Mom, please, tell them this is a mistake. Tell them I was helping you." I walked closer to him, close enough to see the fear in his eyes. "You weren't helping me. You were erasing me. Just like you erased Margaret. Just like you were going to erase every elderly person you could get your hands on." "I'm your son," he whispered. "Doesn't that mean anything?" "It means everything. That's why this hurts so much." They walked him out. Amber followed, still crying. At the door, Trevor stopped and turned back. "I can make this right. I can pay everyone back. Just give me a chance." Rodriguez shook his head. "You can't buy your way out of murder, Mr. Mills. The murder was her idea." Trevor pointed at Amber. "She's the one who said Margaret was taking too long to die. She's the one who increased the dosage. I didn't know she was going to kill her." Amber's head snapped up. "You son of a bitch! You told me to handle it. You said make the problem go away." "I meant move her to a nursing home, not murder her." Chen smiled grimly. "And there it is. Make sure that's all on record." They took them away in separate cars. I stood in the driveway and watched the taillights disappear. My son was gone. Maybe forever. Rodriguez stayed behind. "Mrs. Mills, we'll need you to come to the station tomorrow for a full statement. But for tonight, you should stay somewhere else. This is officially a crime scene." "I understand. There's something else. We found financial records in his office. He did pay some money back to Margaret's estate. $23,000 transferred the day before she died. It's not much compared to what he took, but it suggests he might have had second thoughts. Or he was covering his tracks. Maybe. But there's also this." He handed me a piece of paper, a bank receipt dated 2 weeks ago. A deposit of $8,000 into my savings account, from Trevor's personal account. He put money back? I stared at the receipt. Not much, and not enough. But yes, it's possible he realized this was getting out of control, that he wanted to stop but didn't know how. I thought about the boy I raised, the one who brought me dandelions from the yard, the one who cried when his goldfish died, the one who told me he loved me every night before bed. Somewhere along the way, that boy had become someone else, someone I didn't recognize. But maybe, somewhere deep down, a piece of him remembered who he used to be. "What happens now?" I asked. "There'll be arraigned tomorrow. Bail hearing next week. Trial in 6 to 8 months. The DA is pushing for maximum sentences. Amber is looking at 25 to life if convicted of the murder. Trevor could get 15 to 20 on the other charges. And if he cooperates? If he testifies against Amber?" Rodriguez studied me carefully. "You want to help him? After everything? I want justice for the victims. If Trevor's testimony helps convict Amber for Margaret's murder, then yes. I think that matters. You understand he's still guilty of fraud, of stealing from you and 8 other people, of falsifying medical records and forging documents. I know what he did. And you still want to help him?" I looked back at the house, at the guest house where Margaret died, at the home where I almost suffered the same fate. I want him to take responsibility, real responsibility, but I also want him to have a chance to become something better than what he is right now. Is that possible? Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. "I'll talk to the DA. If Trevor provides full cooperation, testifies against Amber, and agrees to pay full restitution to all victims, they might consider a reduced sentence. Maybe 10 years with parole possibility in 7. But Mrs. Mills, that's still prison time. A lot of it. He earned it. But at least it's not life. At least there's something on the other side. You're a better mother than he deserves." Maybe. Or maybe I'm just refusing to give up on the child I raised. Even if he gave up on himself. 3 weeks later, I sat in a conference room with Trevor, Rodriguez, the DA, and 2 lawyers. Trevor looked thin, defeated. The orange jumpsuit made him look smaller somehow. "Mom," his voice cracked, "I'm sorry. For all of it. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know I never meant for anyone to get hurt. People did get hurt. Margaret died. I know, God, I know. That wasn't supposed to happen. Amber said we were just keeping her calm. I didn't realize how much she was giving her until it was too late. The DA leaned forward. Mr. Mills, if you want this deal, you need to be completely honest. About everything. No more excuses. No more blaming your wife. Trevor nodded. Okay. Yes. It started 5 years ago. A client asked me to help manage his accounts. He had dementia. His family wasn't around. I realized I could take a little and he'd never notice. Then a little became a lot. And it was so easy. So I found more clients like that. Elderly, alone, trusting. How did you identify targets? Amber worked at the title company. She'd flag properties owned by single elderly people with paid-off houses. We'd find ways to meet them. Through church groups, community centers. I'd offer free financial planning consultations. Get them to trust me. And then? Power of attorney. Once I had that, I could do anything. Move money, forge signatures, file false medical reports to justify my control. How many victims total? Trevor closed his eyes. 13, not 8. 13. The room went silent. Rodriguez cursed under his breath. The DA made notes. Names. I need all the names. Trevor provided them. People I had never heard of. Families that had lost everything. $1, $8 million total. Not $1, $2 million, almost double. Mr. Mills, in exchange for your complete testimony against Amber Mills, full restitution to all victims, and your cooperation in recovering assets, the state is prepared to offer 10 years with parole eligibility in 7. Do you accept? Trevor looked at me. Do I deserve a second chance? No, I said honestly, but I'm giving you one anyway. What you do with it is up to you. He signed the papers. 6 months later, I sat in a courtroom and watched Amber get convicted of murder and 13 counts of fraud. 25 years to life. Trevor testified for 3 days. He didn't hold back. He gave them everything. When it was my turn to testify, I told the truth. About the manipulation, the control, the systematic theft. But I also told them about the $8,000 he put back, about the evidence that suggested he was trying to stop, about my belief that people could change if given the chance. The judge looked at me for a long time. Mrs. Mills, you're remarkably generous towards someone who stole from you. Your Honor, he's still my son. I can hate what he did and still hope he becomes better. Trevor got 10 years. With good behavior and parole, he could be out in 7. It wasn't enough for what he did, but it was something. I used my recovered money to set up a foundation, the Margaret Porter Elder Protection Fund. We help elderly people avoid financial exploitation. We provide free legal services. We investigate suspicious patterns. Rita Valdez runs the outreach program. Susan Porter handles the legal side. We've helped 43 people in the first year, recovered $890,000 in stolen assets, gotten 12 abusers arrested. I visit Trevor once a month. We don't talk about the past much. Mostly, we talk about the future, about the work he wants to do when he gets out, about making amends, about building something worthwhile from the wreckage. I'm not sure we'll ever have a normal mother-son relationship again. Too much was broken, but maybe we can have something different, something honest. I kept my house, the one Trevor tried to sell. I painted the kitchen and replaced the carpet and planted flowers in the yard. Every morning I make coffee and sit at my dining room table and remember Margaret, Harold, all the others. They deserved better. They deserved to grow old with dignity, to keep what they had earned, to trust their families without fear. I couldn't save them, but I could stop it from happening to others. That's not redemption. That's not justice. But it's something. And sometimes, something is enough.